Oh, here we go. Hey, everybody. Stephen Williams here. They call me the Good Bishop, and I am excited for you to be able to come and join me behind the veil, where we're going to have an interesting and wonderful dialogue tonight, talking to our single brothers. This is the Valentine's. This, first of all, it's Black History Month, and so we want to make certain that you um, celebrate Black history, celebrate this time, go out and learn something, because the African American, the Black American, has been so instrumental to society, and we've done so many great things. And so I am excited tonight. We're going to talk about this whole thing. I am pumped, and I want to welcome you to Behind the Veil. It's going to be and should be a good opportunity for us to hang out and ask some questions. And so, to all of our ladies out there, help us, Lord. We want you to get your questions, get your questions, and get ready. We have two wonderful guests tonight, and we're going to just hear what they got to say, and we're going to keep it moving. And so y'all know how we do. Oh, before I do that, it's also Valentine's. Valentine's Day is coming up Sunday, as a matter of fact, on the 14th. And even though COVID is hanging out here, it's not like we can do a whole lot going out, but you wear your mask, please, ma'am, please, sir. And do not be afraid of the vaccine. I think I need to say that. Y'all, we got to do something to get back to some level of normalcy, because if you're like me, you're ready to go out and hang out. And so I just want you to be encouraged. And so with this Black History Month and with it Valentine's Day, I thought it would be great for us to talk to the men this week, as we talk about relationships and single men and what they're looking for. And then next week, we're going to talk to the ladies and find out what they're looking for. And we're going to find out about that. And it's just going to be wonderful. And so, again, this is Stephen Williams. Please get your questions. Ready. Get your stuff ready so we can add some stuff. Y'all know how we do this, though. Before we do that, we go into this song of the week. And I'm going to play this song this week, and I'm going to play it next week, because it is the anthem, I believe it is, that we declare and we make ourselves good ground. And we say to ourselves, yep, I'm good ground. And not thorny ground, not stony ground. No, I am good ground. And so it's going to be on and popping. Let's get to it. We getting ready to jam with this real quick.
The word of God, it is seed. If that seed falls into good ground, it will manifest itself and bring you victory. Come on, let's say it now. Word of God, it is seed. Yes, sir. Wherever it lays, it'll bring victory. It finds its place in your soul. It will produce, and it will make you whole.
Come on.
Oh, I'm telling you now, it's on. Oh, it's on good ground, yeah. I decree that's me. I'm good ground. Come on now, say the word. Yes,
Welcome, everybody. Come on.
Wherever it lays, it'll bring victory. And it will find its place in your soul. It will produce, and it'll make you whole. Hey, good God, about it's on good ground. If the word falls on good ground, hey, I decree that's me. I am on good ground. Come on now, say it. Let's go. Because the devil reaches sin and takes it out.
He takes it out.
And he presents himself and then produces
doubt.
It's choked with the cares of his life.
Yes, sir.
And if it falls right there, it will spring up and sprout.
Yeah.
The devil reaches in and takes the word out. will spring up and crown. Hey, see your face wherever it lays, wherever it lays. If it finds its place in your soul, it will produce and it will make you whole. Hey, oh, I'm telling you now.
Anybody good ground out there? Come on.
Good ground.
If you know you good ground, come on, send some hearts, send some love.
Hey, come on, we gonna say it now.
Come on.
In the word of God, if it falls on good ground, it will produce and it will manifest your miracle. Let the word of God fall on you. You be good ground. Whatever the promises come forth, let me tell you, let it fall on me. And I'll have 100-fold. And it will satisfy my soul.
Love my music.
Let the word fall on me. And everybody's gonna see. Let the word of God fall on me.
Thank y'all for coming.
Everybody's gonna see. Whatever he promised. Yeah.
Let every promise in the book fall on me. You know what? I think I should have been a DJ. I should have left this business, just been a DJ. That's what I should have done. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me. Again, Stephen Williams here. That was Good Ground by yours truly. Is on the CD somewhere, coming near you somewhere soon. And so tonight, I am extremely excited for the opportunity for us to share and bring before you what men really are thinking about, or at least not all men. I got two brothers that's going to come on tonight. Our special guest, Adrian Williams and Deshaun Middleton. And I want to make sure I got all that right. I'm going to read their bios before I bring them in, and then we're going to get together and just have some dialogue tonight. I am extremely excited. And so here we go. Let's read the bio. We're going to read the bio for Mr. Adrian Williams. He's a key account manager, Michelin, North America. Adrian is a seasoned transportation professional working in the sales industry for nearly 2 decades with a specialty in aviation. In his current role as a key account manager for Michelin North America, he is responsible for commercial and regional airlines account.
Hey, Doug, turn it down a little.
He is and client relations. Williams completed participation in the La Session Global Leadership Program in Clermont-Ferrand, France. I wasn't invited to go on that trip. I don't know what happened. During his tenure at Michelin, Williams previously served as a corporate recruiter for sales and industry, where he founded and launched the first sales and marketing internship program for Michelin. Prior to his role, Williams was a regional manager for the Michelin commercial truck division, where he led a team to surpass sales goals and corporate initiatives. Williams holds a bachelor in communication from Appalachian State University, where he pledged and remains an active member of Alpha Phi Alpha Incorporated. He is a member of Bridgeway Community Church in Columbia, Maryland. In his spare time, he enjoys working out, live music, and home landscaping. And our second guest is Mr. Deshaun Middleton, and he is from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, but he graduated from Norfolk State University in 2019 with a Bachelor of Science degree in social work. And he is currently pursuing his master's degree at Winthrop University. After graduating from Norfolk State, he had the opportunity to play in the CFL for Montreal, eloquence. We'll talk about that. I am not from Canada. He is now the VP of Dream the Impossible, where they bring to light mental health and bring understanding to break the stigma in the community. He works with the Alexander Youth Network, where he is a behavioral specialist, crisis counselor. And his brother is also a high school football coach at East Mecklenburg in Charlotte, North Carolina. Would you do me a huge favor? Round of applause, show some love as we bring in Adrian and Deshaun. Thank you, brothers.
What's up? What's up?
Thank
What's
you.
up?
Thank you for having us.
Man, I appreciate the opportunity for us to talk tonight. Let me say this in the onset of this. We are not doing no dating site. We just want to hear to talk about some good thoughts. We want to get some ideas. And so this whole notion for me was birthed out of the conversation just as a pastor. And most of the congregations that I go to, a lot of them are 80%, 85, 90% women that we're preaching to. And a lot of times we do not have the forum to be able to just ask people questions, especially single men, to ask you all questions. You know, what are you looking for? What's behind that? And so all the ladies, if you got any questions, y'all can answer, and we'll do the best we can to answer it. Now, I will say this. This is not the concept of every man. This is just three brothers having a conversation. This is our thoughts. We can't speak for everybody, but these brothers really do have a concept. They're educated. They are businessmen. They're successful in their business arena. And at present, they're not married. And so I wanted to make sure that we got their perspective about what's going on. And so, again, man, thank y'all both for hanging out with me, for taking your time out tonight.
Sure.
We won't go too long. But here we go. Either one of you can start this. Tell me, what are your thoughts really about this about marriage? And I guess I'll start with you, Deshaun, since you're the baby in the bunch. And what do you really think about this thing called marriage? Are you looking forward to it? Have you thought about it? And this is before we even get into what we are looking for. Go ahead, man.
Oh yeah, man, I'll definitely get into it. Appreciate you having me tonight. You know what I'm saying? Being from Winston, definitely grew up on you. But yeah, I'll definitely say that I have definitely considered marriage before. It's definitely been able for it's actually been real good. Like I look at my parents' marriage, and I see how they work with each other, how they have patience with each other, and even through adversity, like how they still are able to just love and cherish each other. Also look at, my brother and my sister-in-law, you know what I'm saying, relationship and see how that goes. So I'm definitely excited for the future and what it holds for marriage. Hopefully one day, that'll be me and I'll be there. But right now we just gonna live life right now. But yeah,
So
I definitely think
is that your concept? You just want to kind of, is that your main thought process? Because you're around, I mean, I guess we got to talk about ages, because you're like 26, 27, something like that.
yeah, 25.
25. So if you're in that age range, so in your, and I got somebody, y'all, that was in his 20s, and then I got somebody who was in his 40s. And I wanted to just deal with the different concepts or the thought processes of the generations. And so by the time you were 25, Adrian would know. Adrian is always going to be my brother-in-law. He's from his sister was my first wife. And so me and Kai were married by this time, by 25. And so your thought process is, you're saying, nah, I'm just Deshaun. You saying, nah, not
Yeah,
right
I'm
now.
just yeah, not right now. I mean, I'm at the peak of it starting to kind of like hit me where I'm starting to like really identify like, all right, like this is kind of the path I want to take with my life and what I'm saying, beginning to search, but what I'm saying, it's nothing that I'm about to just rush into, but that's where I'm at right now with it.
So, Adrian, you're a little elder statesman. You mid 40s, very successful. Um, Give me your thoughts on this thing of marriage, and what do you think about it? And because at this point,
Yeah, sure, sure. No, to echo Deshaun, thank you for having us on. I wish I were Deshaun's age. My body would feel a lot better. But anyway, it's I kind of have some mixed views as far as marriage. I think when I was younger, especially like Deshaun's age, I was a little bit hesitant and a little scared of marriage because I really didn't see a lot of good examples. From my parents, relatives, friends, fraternity brothers. I really didn't see a lot of really good examples. And so, like from, some of my closest relatives, uncles, and things like that, I always saw a lot of broken marriages. Even with my parents, it was quite different. We had some different dynamics within our relationship. So it kind of shaped it a little bit different for me. So I had to grow and experience and actually see some successful marriages. And, even from some of my like fraternity brothers, they had some bumps in the road early on, but then they overcame a lot of stuff. And it proved to me that, hey, you can have a successful marriage. So, initially a lot of the examples I saw were quite negative. So it forced me to actually go out and seek people and see that things were successful, because growing up, I thought that was a norm. I thought,
right.
It was the norm, and it wasn't. And so I had to actually go out and seek and see different examples and actually, seek out different people who had successful marriages to try to get some sort of example of what could happen and what could be and what was supposed to be.
How you feel about it now? And I'm gonna come back to you, Deshaun, as well, because how do you feel about it now? Both of you are having some level of success, and I know Deshaun is just starting, but you were in the CFL, so we need to talk about that and football in Canada and all that good stuff. But Adrian, where are you now in your thought process? What do you think about it at this particular age? Because you passed 40. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely something that I want now, and it's you go back to that old saying that no man is an island. I mean, who wants to go through life alone? That's ridiculous and absolutely crazy. But at the same time, who wants to go through life miserable choosing the wrong partner? So you have to be very careful in the person that you choose. The woman that's compatible for you, and you're compatible with her, and you're together and working on things. It's a team effort. So it's definitely something that I want in the very near future. I mean, it's something that I'm no longer necessarily shunned by, but it's something that I want to acquire in my life for sure.
So now that's going to lead me straight into this segue. What kind of person are we talking about here? Because, so when we start talking about this, when I start having this conversation, I was sharing with somebody today because they called me frustrated. Because the man wouldn't engage. And what I shared with them, I said, you have to understand the dynamics have changed for the African American male. I said it used to be that we only had sisters. Now you have Caucasian, you have the African American sisters, you have the Asian, you have the Hispanic. And so it's boiling down to what exactly are you all looking for? And when you're around your other brothers, what's the concept? What's the thought process? Are we looking for to have some money? And then we're dealing on two different levels. Deshaun is in one place, Adrian is at another place. Are we talking looks, personality, finances? Man, it's getting tough. Credit score. It's just, I mean, all of these things.
That's truth though. Like that's a lot of truth to that though. Like,
yeah. Do you all as single men, is that what you're thinking about? We're talking about religion.
Sure.
It's a lot of stuff that's involved in it because you all are the commodity.
Sure. And I'll go ahead, Sean.
No, I was about to say, yeah, that's very true when it comes to that. I mean, I guess from my age, like being 25, like it doesn't really come down to the looks. Like, I mean, obviously you're gonna want someone that you're attracted to. Like, let's not take it a little too far. Like you always want to have somebody that you're attracted to, but at the end of the day, it's about that personality. Like if you can be in that person's space, if you can be around that person, someone that can help you build up yourself and also you build up that person, then that's something that I'm looking for. Like, you know what I'm saying? I already kind of bring to the table the stuff that I'm already doing. Like I don't chase after money or after fame or anything like that. Like I just want someone like down to earth that I can, connect to, talk to, and not, what I'm saying, smother each other, but be able to be in each other's space. So, that's at least that's what I'm looking for.
Right.
Yeah. I can tell you things. It's a different set of circumstances where I live now. So I live right outside of DC. I'm about 20 minutes outside of DC in Bowie, Maryland. And I can tell you that there's you spoke about money, Steve, and most of the women up here are very successful and they have a great deal of money. I mean, wealth is not an issue whatsoever. So it's it's a different dichotomy a little bit. So, but for me personally, it's about someone who's strong in her faith. That's very big for me as far as what I'm looking for. And someone who's been somewhat battle tested by life. I mean, someone who's been through the ringer and someone who's, because I've been, we've all been scarred and bruised, some more than others. But if you haven't learned or gained anything from that, that's what I'm looking for. Someone who's been through that and understands things and is able to fight and, be strong and all that good stuff. Obviously, someone who's nurturing. Someone who's progressive, like, as far as finances, we talk about, especially Black wealth. I mean, we talk about things where we spend money on things that don't really give us a return. I mean, we talk about clothes, we talk about cars and things like that. And, I'm in the space now where, I'm looking for someone who, let's look at some stocks. Let's work the stock market, or let's buy some rental properties, or something like that. Someone who's their thought process is in that direction versus buying something that's not going to give you a return. Someone who's financially responsible. I mean, those are big items for me. But it's I live like I said, I live in an area where it's probably, I would guess, maybe 10-1, maybe even more than that as far as the ratio of women to men.
Right.
So it's quite different from anywhere I've ever lived before in my life. So and you really have to get through a lot of issues that unfortunately other Black men have impacted women's lives in a negative way. So you have to understand, they have some sort of feelings about things that have happened in the past. So you have to be able to weed through that and get to the real person. So, sometimes it's quite a challenge, but it's there are quite a few good women. You just, you have to make sure that everything's on the up and up and find the right one.
What's the turnoff?
Probably turn off. Wow.
We shooting from the hip. Like, what's the turnoff? Because something has triggered it. So here you are. You're the 10. You're the 10-1 ratio. Deshaun, you are. I mean, you're 25, and you're young. You in shape. I mean, there's got to be something that's saying, what's the turnoff that's got you guys saying, no, pump the brakes. This ain't working for me. This ain't.
I'll say for me, it's mostly self-inflicted as far as, like, I'm quite picky, and to go along with that, being single for the period of time that I've been single, it forces me. I've been setting my ways, so it's going to take quite a bit for me I have to force myself to relinquish control. I have to force myself to to say, hey, I've been doing things alone by myself for such a long time. It's some sort of you have to let go of some of that control. Right. I mean, that's something that's obvious. It's definite. It's something that's real. It's there. So, they're able to relinquish some of that control, or, all of that control, and allow somebody else to come into my life and my personal space. But you have to, it's somebody that's worthy of doing that. That's been the biggest issue for me, I would say.
Deshaun?
Man, I guess for me, like, a turnoff would be, like, I'm a big person as far as, like, hearing and listening. It's definitely something that I can definitely improve on too, as far as, like, understanding whichever significant other, like, understanding the female's perspective and put myself in their shoes, like, actually understanding and hearing. I feel as if for men, like we listen to solve an issue or to solve a problem instead of just listening sometimes. So that plays a role and effect on me because it's like I'm always trying to problem solve. Um, and then that way I'm not really, you know what I'm saying? It's not a two-way street when it comes to listening. So that would be like the biggest thing to me.
Okay. I mean, I think these are interesting. You guys have. Is there an overarching concern as to why? Because I'm sure you've met people that are excellent candidates. And so what made you all say, yeah, I met somebody, and is it a like women have a list? At least I've been told they got a list, right? And do you guys have a list?
Nah, I don't really have no
I mean, I'm
list or
just
anything like
asking.
that. Like, yeah, I don't have no list, man. I feel as if, to be honest with you, like when it comes to those lists, man, like you're not gonna find everything that you're looking for in like a particular person, and everybody's different. Like I hate the term of like wasting time. Like how can you waste time when you're like trying to learn someone, get to know them, see their ins and outs, see their likes, their dislikes, and you know what I'm saying. Sometimes it just turn out like while you're learning them and taking that time, like you maybe just don't like them. You may not like a certain characteristic that they have or certain values that they hold. So, um, it's something along that lines. But as far as a list or anything like that, no, I don't do that whole list thing because it's unrealistic. I feel as if like honestly, like we just have to be realistic about it. Like, what do you see? You know what I'm saying? What are you pushing out into the environment? What are you pushing out into the atmosphere? Like, whatever you push out, then that's what's going to be returned to you. So when it comes to that, like when you're around these different women and you see it's like, what are you really looking for? Like, what are you really asking? So
Adrian, is that the same kind of concept? Like, but I mean, y'all telling me y'all ain't got
It's,
no list. I mean, you got to have a somewhat of a list.
no, I mean, obviously there's some things. I mean, I think one of the things recently that's kind of come to light is, a lot of people have anxiety, and that anxiety prevents them from really being 10 toes into the relationship. So,
What do you
I've
mean?
had to overcome. Well,
Unpack
it's like they really hold back, and they're really to the point to where things happen, situations, whatever comes about in their lives, and they can't seem to get over that hump. And it's I've raised an environment where I've had bad stuff happen since I was a child, so I've learned. It's through experience you learn things, and you become not necessarily immune, but you learn. You know what? It happened. Let's get over it. Let's move on to the next. And some people, they kind of hold back and they can't move past certain things, and it inhibits the relationship to a certain point.
right.
There's
I agree
also
with you. I agree with you
and
on
there's
that. Like that's very true.
yeah, and then there's also things like unfortunately with family issues and having not having an existing father. Some people don't know how they didn't see a positive relationship, like which I did. So I had to learn, from my own different examples. But somehow, sometimes people have examples where they had a negative image of their father, and so a lot of time that still haunts people to this day, and
Yeah.
it still haunts them. It still haunts how they love. It still, it haunts how they feel. It haunts a lot of stuff, and not using that as an excuse, but that's a realistic thing. I mean, that's actually going on in this day and time. And then the other part is, sometimes it's men like to feel respected. And sometimes if a man's not feeling respected, no matter what else is going on in their relationship, it's just not going to work.
Appreciate
So
it.
yeah,
Respect it.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, those are huge key factors, and you're seeing it from two different. He's in his 20s, I'm in my 40s, and that is something we obviously agree on. That is huge. I mean,
I'm in my 50s.
men,
I agree.
yeah, yeah. Men, we don't ask for a lot, but that's one of the key things, and we want to feel that. I mean, that's something that we want to feel and understand and know. So, those are
Yeah,
some issues for sure.
yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Like, if you're not feeling appreciated or you're not feeling respected, if you're not feeling like heard and understood, then that's something that would definitely like kind of push me away from the situation. Like, I'm a type of person like I'll be honest, like I'll shut down. Like I can just go
Sure.
a minute without even talking, like without even speaking, like, and I'll just be fine. Like I'll be doing everything else under the sun, but it's like, all right, cool. Like I just don't have nothing to say because at a certain point, like that's kind of where it boils down to. Like I'm not actually feeling it from you. Like if I don't feel it from you, then you know what I'm saying? Like what are you really bringing? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you can have the cars, you can have the money, you can have the real estate, you can have the looks and all this and that. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a feeling process. And if I don't
Yeah.
feel like you here, or if I don't feel as if like you really care, then you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna move nonchalant and just kind of move by myself.
Now, granted, don't get me wrong. It has to be earned. It's not something that's given. I mean, it has to be earned for sure. It's not like just because I'm a man, you respect. No, no, no. It has to be earned. It has to be worked on. So that's definitely what we're saying. It's not
Yeah,
something that's just
yeah.
given.
You just don't get it off of real. Like that's what I mean
Yeah,
by like you like I feel as if when people are saying like now like you have like this talking stage is what we call it, and that's a real big stage in my eyes because like that's where you're earning that respect, that's where you're earning those feelings, that's where like the feelings come in mutual, like you're learning each other, the concept between you two. So I mean that's it's very big. Everything's earned in life, like nothing's given, so you
true.
got to be able to earn it as long as you're doing your part. You know what I'm saying? That's all you can really look forward to.
Let me dig
Mhm.
in. So, what does that look like in real life? Like, what does that look like in a real case scenario when you say making sure I feel honored? Is it when you go out? I mean, what does that look like? What is that now to you guys? What's happening in your world when you say you don't feel honored? Is there one? Is there an example that you can throw in? Just a casual example that somebody has done to you that said, you know what, well, that was whack right there. You should, I don't like that. Is there one
Uh,
that you could think of? And you may not be able to think of one, but it is something that I want people to know that men, we are aware. We are aware. I shared this, and I'm going to make this comment. I shared with a friend, and I'm gonna switch it on you guys. I shared with them that one of the challenges, and this was a female, one of the challenges that I don't think a man could get in is because somebody else was still in their heart. And I
mm,
don't believe that God will send somebody who you should have if somebody else is still occupying your heart. Has that been a part of the delay for you all? Has there been someone that was in your heart and it just didn't work out? And that's the barometer that you say, this is the relationship, and you haven't found that, or have you really cleansed yourself? If you can understand my question.
Nah,
yeah, yeah.
I understand. Yeah, I understand your question completely. And for myself, like, I mean, I'll be honest, like the cleansing part, is coming through. You know what I'm saying? I'm at a young age, like, you know what
Right?
I'm saying? I had a previous relationship kind of a while back. So, obviously, like you're gonna go through a certain period of time that you have to cleanse yourself. So, I mean, that's a very true statement, and I've seen it for myself. From past relationships. So I understand that.
Yeah, I could say I'll give you a very realistic event that happened to me. So I was going to the gym one day, and out of the blue, an ex girlfriend that I had from, I don't know, my 20s, it was a long, long, long time ago. She had called me just say, "Hey, I want to catch up," and she's a very spiritual young lady, and so she was asking about my current relationship at that time, and so I was telling her about it, and she can sense that it wasn't really. I wasn't feeling the relationship. It
Right,
was
right.
it was it was convenient, but it wasn't really that deep. So she said, "You know what, Adrian?" She said, "God won't send anybody into your life until you get rid of that relationship." And she told, and it struck me hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You have to move that completely out of your life before God will send the right person into your life." And she was right. She was right. And so that cleansing process, I mean, that was something that was, it was when I was Deshaun's age, it was, didn't really have a cleansing process. It was like, it was, hey, whatever happens, happens. I'm not that serious at the time. But as you get older, that does have to happen. And in order for God to move into in your life, you have to rid yourself of every relationship that's not going to work and make room. So I firmly believe that.
You got to make room. So let's go back. Deshaun, in your age range, are you all even interested in marriage at this time, or are you all your generation? Because it seems like, Adrian, you can attest, they think a little bit differently than we did when we were in our 20s. Like, I don't see them wanting to do this. And I pulled him in. I asked for somebody this young just to get the thought process, because a lot of the 20-year-olds are like, man, I mean, I got a son that's Deshaun, you could have been my son. My son is 25. And so he's like, what? I'm on my
he's not thinking about marriage.
What? It ain't even nowhere. This music and his career, it ain't even a process. I mean, I don't even know if it's a thought in his mind. So is that where you all are as young men? And not speaking for everybody, I'm just in general, general conversation.
Yeah, I would definitely say for our generation, like, for one, like I would definitely say, like, we have a lot of pain that we have to get over. Like, we use examples of, like, our parents, like, of, like, people around us, and different things that we saw. So, and different experiences that we went through. And now you live in a generation where pretty much, like, you have a lot of young people who's becoming self-efficient, who's coming, self-made. Like, you have I think so in their mind, especially, like, I know for me, like, I hear it so many times, like, I can do it by myself. Like, I don't really need it. Like, it's it's convenient to have you here just to say that, like, we have a partner, but I can really, I can pay my bills, or, like, I can protect myself. Like, so that mindset, drops you away from marriage. Like, it drops you away from even thinking about it, because at a certain point you're like, well, nobody needs me and I don't need nobody. So I'm just going to just, do me. So, So that, I would say, from the people that I have experienced, and have met, and different people in generations, like, that's pretty much the way of thinking. Like, you're so self-driven, like, you want to accomplish certain goals before it's like you even bring in anyone else. So it's like, until you accomplish those goals, it's like, as far as marriage or anything like that, it's not even coming close to it. It's like, what can you add to that? Like, I already can do X, Y, and Z. So where do you really fit in there?
Ooh, so I mean, because here we go. Because is that a part of that whole thing, especially with somebody as successful as you all are? Is that this thing? Where do you fit into this whole program that I got going on? How do you mesh, and what is that? What does that look like from your eyes? Is that something on the forefront of your minds as single men? And Adrian, I guess my second question to you is, you're a little bit past 40. Do you feel an urgency to do it? Or are you like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't? And I wish we could go back and be Deshaun, at 25. And
yes, we do.
Wait a minute. Only way I want to do it is if I know what I know now. I don't want to know.
Sure, that's exactly right.
I need to know what I know now and do 25 again. Then I would understand it. But do you feel a sense of, man, I need to hurry up and find it? Or is there a thing where I'm saying, yeah, when I get 50, I ain't doing this, man. I've already made it on my own.
Yeah.
Why do I need
I don't feel a sense of urgency per se, but it's something that I want, but I don't feel like, the clock is ticking, and I don't feel that at all, not whatsoever. But to kind of piggyback on what Deshaun was talking about earlier. So, I got a couple of boys up here, and, they're successful as well, in education or whatever. And, some of the sentiments that they have is that, they want for a woman to need them. And I definitely, that's the last thing I want. I want somebody to want me versus somebody to need me. And so I think you get into a conversation with some women who are very successful in the area that I'm at. And they feel as if, I really don't need you for anything. I make my own money. I got a big house. I got a Benz or a Range Rover. I'm successful in the corporate world. I'm doing my thing. So there's nothing about you that I need. And I think that throws a lot of men off, because they're looking at that historical roles in life, and how, back in the day it was like the man went out, was a breadwinner, and the woman stayed home and she needed him, and that's upside down now. I never subscribed to that whatsoever. Yeah, I never subscribed to that whatsoever. But that's still how a lot of men still think that way. And so, you have a lot, and so you sometimes you have to fight that battle, and people, sometimes women automatically have their defense mechanisms up to where, I don't need you for anything. I don't need you, and that's cool. I don't want you to need me. I want you to want me, and I want you to want this together. So that is something that's legit, and that's real, especially in this area.
Turnoff. Because to me, I'll be like, well, shoot, if you don't need me, let's move on. Because obviously you only want me. You might not want me for nothing, and so I would be saying, well, shoot, let me go do me. Because if you don't, if I don't fit anywhere, then why in the heck would I try? I mean, we just going out then. I mean, because
that's it.
I agree to that. Like, I hate when women use the comment like it could just be something simple like, you know what I'm saying, we just going out to eat or something. I don't need you to pay for my meal. Like, clearly I know I don't need to pay for your meal. It's just something it's just a generous thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want you to be around. Like, I don't want you to worry about anything. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just want to have your presence around. So I definitely say like that's one of the biggest turnouts when I hear like, oh, I don't, okay, cool. If you don't need me, then like you said, cool. Let me go ahead and be out then. Like, you don't want me, cool. We here.
That's real. I've seen it time and time again, and yeah, it's a turnoff. But at the same time, sometimes you got to break through that wall, that veil, because it's people they built that up, and they've been hardened by life and hardened by different relationships and things to where they feel that way. So unless you communicate with them and understand where they're coming from, yeah, they're going to be the person that's going to be alone in that big old house, 4,000, 5,000 square foot house, and the Benz and a dog, right?
Oh, yeah,
have the dog there. Okay, they got a dog, and that's who that person's going to be.
Yeah.
What happened to the cat lady? We put the cat.
I don't know about the cat lady. Or cat. That's that person. That's that person.
But it's got to be, because here is where I feel like it, and I'm married, so I have my role. But do you guys find it difficult now finding a role? If she got all the stuff, like the question then becomes, what you need me for? And if that's what you're projecting, if that's what you are getting from that, then sometimes I think with some of the young men that I've been speaking to, they are really struggling, man, with trying to find that person, because it seems like they got a smorgasbord and they can go anywhere. If you got a bad attitude, they'd be like, I'm bouncing. I can find somebody else. If you ain't got your money right, I'm bouncing. If you don't want to look the part, I'm bouncing. And so they are just not doing it. And do you find it difficult to have a role in their lives? I don't know. I don't know. No, I don't know. It's just me asking.
Nah, I mean, for me, when it comes to finding a role, like, I mean, everybody wants a place. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Like everybody wants a place. Everybody wants to know, like, what is it that you want from me? You know what I'm saying? I hate using the word need, but what is it that you want from me? What is it that I can provide to you?
Right.
Like, and if you're not seeing that, like, you know what I'm saying? I know for our generation, we're so quick to be like, all right, cool. Like, if you're not thinking about like doing X, Y, and Z in this amount of time, then all right, cool. Like, what are we doing? Like, we just wasting time. We just moving along. So it's just like, where do you find your place? How do you find your role? And that's something that's very difficult nowadays to even see, even when you're getting to know somebody or getting to learn somebody. Like, trying to find that place is difficult because it's like you have everything that you wanted. You have everything that you needed. And sometimes, like, the person, like, just speaking for myself, like, you may not even know what you want, or you may not even know if that's actually the role or the place that you want to be at.
That's good. So to everybody out there, I know you all, some of these ladies, some even other men, you may have some questions. Shoot us a question so we can talk about it. Don't be ashamed tonight. Throw out the question. I think because this is really for me, it is a problem because I'm dealing with people who are saying, I'm leaving God for my man of God, and then we never talk to the people. We never have a conversation. Somebody said this, and I think this is going to be key tonight, and I'm going to say it again next week. We always want God to fix what we should be communicating about. We want God to come in and intervene what we should be communicating about. So I got two questions. What do you think is the very foundation of marriage? And Deshaun, I know you young, you don't know yet. But Adrian, you may know. Like, what is it that you think? Okay, foundationally, this is what's gonna make it. This is what's gonna help us get there. Outside of the cars, outside of all that, the money. What do you think about as a man that's the foundation?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is communication. I think that is key. I mean, that's I'm not going to say that's the end all be all, but it is a very key component to a successful marriage is communication. And it's something that, in the past I've been reluctant to do, something that I've actually had to work on quite a bit because, it wasn't part of my nature. It was, you shut down and, if you had an argument, somebody leaves and then they come back later and just, we forget about it. Right. But
right.
I think that's the key to it.
As well as you had to work on it. Let's talk about that. Are you all the quintessential guy where when stuff jump off, you shut down?
Yeah, that was me before.
Yeah,
that was quite a bit. That was me.
That's definitely me. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like like if I like all that argument and stuff, like I'm not even gonna pay attention to it. Like I'll just be like, all right, you do you, I'm do me. You know what I'm saying? We don't even have to do this type of thing. So communication is very big, and that's definitely something that I need to improve on my end. With like vocalizing like what's going on or saying like things like that. So yeah, I'm definitely the person who will shut down. Like, because sometimes I'll be real with you. Like, man, I'll be real with you. Like, you got billions of people in this world. Like, you're not gonna keep arguing over and over. Like, you can just move on and just find something else. Like, it don't have to be. You know what I'm saying? It's not forced. You don't have to be here. So, I feel as if when you're arguing, sometimes like now you're just forcing yourself to be here. Like, if you're not really with it, then you know what I'm saying, just let me know, and we just keep pushing. Like, we'll get through the pain and the hurt some other way. Like, big guys, we can handle it.
Adrian?
That's true.
Yeah.
No, it's true. I've learned now to kind of put that, and if it's worth fighting for and it's worth fighting through, you got to learn to have those hard conversations. And a lot of times it's uncomfortable because it's by nature, a man is just, we're not into all that dialogue and talking. We're into action, so when we're forced to sit down and talk about things and come up with solutions and, voicing feelings and things like that, it's something that's not, necessarily I'm used to. So, I had to force myself to do that, but it's effective. I mean, that's the only way you can have a successful marriage is through communication, I think. I think that's huge.
Now people are going to get mad at me and I'm going to say it, and I appreciate y'all. I'm a bishop in the Lord's church. I've been in church all my life, and Adrian can attest to this. I can say I used to say in my counseling, gentlemen, I used to say, you need three things. You need a 3-chord. You need God. You need communication, and you need intimacy. Those were the three things that I used to. And what I found out is that you can have God all you want to. You can speak in tongues, go to church all day long. But if you don't learn how to talk, I don't care how much God you got. I don't care how much prayer you cover. It ain't none of that gonna work if you can't communicate. And there must be some level of intimacy, not just sex. It is the whole notion of. I saw Sierra. I don't know if y'all watch Sierra and Russell
Wilson.
Russell Wilson. Man, I was looking at them being intimate. Man, she was hanging on his shoulder. She's always touching him. They always holding hands. Those are the kinds of things. Now, granted, he did buy her catalog back. Now, he did pay for all of her music and paid for her masters. He bought them all back. But it's that whole notion. You see that with Obama and President Obama and Lady Michelle, where it's always this intimacy that's missing. And I think now I say to me, I want you to have a God relationship, but a God relationship without communication and without intimacy, you have it's going to be shattered. It don't matter how much money you have. If you can't talk and if you can't show honor and love and respect for one another in the place of intimacy, it won't matter how much God relationship you have. It's not going to. And I've had a God relationship, and Adrian, it just didn't work because we could not communicate. And I don't care what you do, you gotta have those two things. It ain't gonna work without it. I promise you. Everybody I've spoken to, every marriage counseling, it comes down to two things. For men, you guys got it right. It's honor for us. For women, we're gonna find out next week what they want. I think they sometimes they say they don't want no material stuff, but they do. They say they don't want some stuff, but they do. To me, but we'll find out next week. I can't wait to hear what the women's got to say. And so, what, Adrian?
Sure.
For you, why do you think it is taking so long? Deshaun, do you think it's going to take forever? Like some of these people are saying, I met her in high school, or I met her in college, and that was it. We had it was perfect. And so a two-part question. Do you think it's going to take long for you to find? Why do you think it is taking so long? And then, are you nervous that people who don't suffer with you will be able to understand you?
Well, I think it takes a long. I mentioned before, it's being picky, and the other part is I think I was looking for perfection, and I was looking for exactly 100% what I wanted, checked all my boxes, and that's just not there. I mean, there's no such thing as a unicorn.
What was
there's no such thing.
Let's explore that checkbox. It ain't there no more. Let's talk about it.
Oh man, checkboxes.
Let's talk about
several.
Let's talk about
several things. I mean, you had the woman who could cook and who was loyal and who was shunned you with all types of love and all the time, and no matter what was going on, you were first priority. And they were the person who was, lack of better terms, a porn star behind doors, but a lady that was a complete professional in that environment. And there's different things like that. I mean, it was basically a fantasy. And I created that fantasy, and that's what I was searching for. I was searching for that unicorn, and it didn't exist. So once you kind of understand and realize that that's just not a realistic thing, you're not settling, but I guess you reevaluate your thought process, and you reevaluate yourself and say, hey, what really is important? What really makes sense? I mean, what means the most? Because some of that stuff is irrelevant, and you got to understand that, hey, no one's perfect. No one's perfect. You're not perfect. And so you just have to go back and reevaluate some things and really feel, understand what really makes a sound marriage, what really makes me happy. And as you grow and mature, your wants and desires change somewhat. They really do. You talked about earlier, we talked about credit scores. When I was Deshaun's age, it's amazing that he is, but I wasn't thinking about credit scores.
Right.
I didn't care what the credit score was. If she was pretty and she was, that was the most important thing at my age. It was very immature, but as you grow, you know better, you do better, right? So right. but as you go through things and go through life, you understand, you have experiences, it shapes you, and it kind of molds you to really understand what you really want. So that's kind of how I feel. But as far as people, I think the second part of your question was people growing or not
Nah,
growing at
just
the same
suffering.
pace.
Like,
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
suffering.
yeah. Well,
suffering.
you know how I think successful people have a harder time. I think you guys have a harder time knowing, is the person here for me, or is the person here for the security of what I bring to the plate? And this is why athletes just run through people, to
Yeah.
me, because you've got all of these millions now. And, is she here? Is she here for me? Or is she here? Like the girl who just got going off on LeBron James. The her husband is 60, she 25. The
Yeah.
question that you ask, dude, like, is she really there for him, or is she there because this joker is a billionaire? And now that's not for us to decide. He's already made his choice. But if you are successful, does that play a part in your decision making? Does she, I'm gonna be petty tonight, does she have to be equal in her finances, in her approach, as it pertains to you? And I know I'm gonna get some backlash on this, but are we talking about, light skin fine? Are we talking about, you know, does that matter? Because we are fed an image. I don't care what y'all say. Y'all can look at me like I'm crazy. We are fed this image of, and we are judged by the person who is on our arm. And, does she have the Beyonce shape? Or is she, does that play a part? Does she have to have long hair, light skin? Is she dark skinned? Does it matter? Because to some men, they be tripping off of that. I mean, some, I don't care what y'all say. Some men are tripping off of that concept. Like you were saying, Adrian, I want a lady in the day and I need a freak at night. I want a freak in the bed. But these are the images that have been pushed on us. And I'm just curious as to where you all are in your thought process, because everybody we see successful, and that's the images that we get, right? Every last one of them, like super fine. I mean, every athlete, almost every athlete, almost every entertainer, almost everybody that you see, every businessman. And it's so bad now in my industry of church that now preachers pick according to how she looks. I'm telling y'all. I'm telling you, it is an image based. It's a destructive thing that we've been fed. And I just want to know where you guys are on that. I know. Yeah. Don't write me. Don't email me. It's just a question.
Nah. So I mean, I'm gonna answer. So Adrian, I'm just gonna answer all his questions real quick.
Go for
Your
it.
first question was, do I ever see it happening? Yeah, I do. Once I hit like that 30 range, I plan to legit have a family. Like I don't want to just be single out here all day long. Like what I'm saying, by 30 it's like, all right, now like I'm in my career, what I'm saying, I'm fully stable. Like it's all right now, like now it's time for a family. Now it's time to start building that legacy with my kids. Like that's what it's all about. And then your second question, as far as like if they if they don't really go through the suffering with you, will they ever
Yeah.
be able to understand you? That's a trick question for me because what I'm saying, everyone is entitled to their own opinions. Everybody interprets different things. So the measures and the steps that you might have taken, somebody else might have taken it differently. And that's
Right.
what I was saying like earlier, as far as like understanding from a different perspective, understanding from a different woman. Like women, think differently than men. So it's like, okay, one way, like, how we suffered, it was like, okay, cool, like you did it this way, but it could have came back if X, Y, if you would have did X, Y, Z. Or so I mean, they can and they can't. It just depends on the person and how you look at it and how you visualize it, how you welcome it, without putting up like your defense system. Um, Which I mean, at a young age, like right now, like I would say, like that's something that I do. Like I put up that because I'm like, you have to be guarded. So when it comes to like your last question for is like your image and what you bring to the table, like yeah, like I mean, you know what I'm saying? You will always want some like when you walk in a room, you know what I'm saying? Like obviously you by yourself, you're already bringing that glow. You just want somebody who can add to that glow. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like, somebody else who gonna be like, okay, cool. Like I got the baddest in the room. You know what I'm saying? But that's you can take it back to that statement of, you know, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So, you know what I'm saying? Your eyes, she can be the most beautiful thing that you ever seen. And you know what I'm saying? That's your own belief, and you just gotta leave it at that. Like you can't make those prejudgment based upon like what you see out here because we have grown to a society right now where social media plays a major role.
Mate.
Like back in the day, like don't get me wrong, it wasn't like you had those people who had, you know, those wives and stuff like that. But now with social media based, like it's a stereotype. Like you have to, it's like you have to have it. If you don't have it, then like you're not like a top athlete, you're not like a top in your profession. Like if you don't have X, Y, and Z, like how can you be successful with her? But you can. It's all about how you see it, it's all about how you roll with it. So um I mean, for myself, like, yeah, it's a little self destruct because you know, coming around you, like you know what I'm saying, the people that you come around, like it's opinion based. And you know what I'm saying? We are a society who operates off of opinions. Whether
Yeah.
we take it or not, we operate off of opinions. So when you're hearing that opinion, how do you refer back to it? How do you know what I'm saying, give it back? How do you handle that? So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Um, like I say, I mean, you know, it's all depends on the person, but for myself, like I do believe, you know, a certain person can understand. It may take time, which you know what I'm saying, obviously that's something that you'll never get back. But you know what I'm saying, you gotta ask yourself, like, is this person worth investing that amount of time?
Got you.
Because money and things like that, materialistic, you're gonna get all that back. I'm a type of person like the money's gonna come back. I'm 25 years old. Like if I ain't learned how to make money by now, like it's you know, hey, it's up in the air. But time wise, it's like, all right, I'm investing this time into you. I'm investing this time to actually get to know you, to see you, and you know what I'm saying. Once that time is invested, we get to a certain point, whether we're here or not, then we just play that role.
Go ahead, Adrian.
Yeah, and there's a question that was in the chats. Is are y'all still opening doors and pouring gas? Oh yeah, definitely. I mean
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
that, that's just that's yeah. I mean that's just chivalry. I mean that's just me being me. I mean that's nothing new. But yeah, of course,
it's
yeah,
just like
wifey
walking
doing
down
that.
the street and you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying, the man to the outside. Like you gotta always
hey,
walk to the outside. Like
Jack,
yeah,
I was getting ready to say.
that's you have to
Yeah,
still do those things. Like that's
yeah,
how a woman, in my eyes, sometimes it's kind of what a woman want. Like you ain't gonna
yeah.
open the door for your lady every now and then. We ain't saying do it every time, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Let her know, like, hey baby, you know, got you. Let me get that for you.
Yeah.
Like you know what I'm saying. I pump the gas late at night. Like no woman gonna be out here pumping gas by herself. That's ridiculous. Like there's too much stuff going on. Like
So it is, and let me just so real quick funny story. So I was one time pre-COVID, I was at a happy hour, not too far from the house, and I got there early because I was going to do some work. I got there early, so I just struck up a conversation with a young lady that was there, and she was telling me, she understood, you're from down south, you're different. That's the lingo up here.
right,
You're down
yeah.
south, you're different. So I was like, cool, you're not a DC guy. So she was like, yeah, all right, whatever. So anyway, she was telling me that men these days play the role almost of a female. Like she said she was dating a guy and he was upset, like, why haven't you called me?
Right.
Why haven't you pursued me? And it's like, she was saying that men want to be pursued now and they're shifting it around. And it was just interesting how she put that, that kind of that thing together. But going back to your question about, color and stereotypes and things like that, I'll just tell you, I've dated a girl that was from Iceland. She was blonde hair, blue eyes. My
Right.
last girlfriend, and this was, a while back when I was, in school, but, my last girlfriend was Jamaican and Indian, and to me, it really doesn't matter, as far as if you're light skinned with long hair, I can care less. I mean, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, to what Deshaun was saying. I mean, to me, that is like the lowest thing on my totem pole. I've never looked at that. I never have. I mean, that's just something that doesn't really, appeal to me. A certain stereotype. She's got to fit this criteria, or she's not pretty. I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, personally.
I mean, you're going. I'll put it to you like this, because I ain't gonna be hypocritical. To I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say like, oh, like I don't look like I look at it, but then in my head, like I'm like, all right, like this is cool for now. You know what I'm saying? Like it, like you said, like what's your place? What's your role? Like where do you fit? Like, yeah, you fit in the looks department. Like, hey, I can walk on you, but when it comes to that personality part, like, hey, that's where you get serious at. That's where the emotions come into
Yeah.
play. So, and then also to your comment about being pursued, I mean, you living in a generation now, like, yeah, I agree to that because I remember myself doing that to a young lady, like, why should men always have to be the one to pursue you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Not only are women to catch, like men are to catch too. So it has to be an equal part. You know what I'm saying? It has to be equal efforts putting in. So if I'm sitting here doing this, like, I expect the same thing from you.
And that's that's the new process. You know, Adrian, we're a little bit older, but you know that new generation is saying at least what they've been telling me. You know, if you want me, let me know. You know, don't just. You know, I need to know that you're interested, so I can be interested, and we can pursue. And it's different now for those 25-year-olds. I don't know what's going on.
It is.
It's
It is,
different.
Steve. But the thing about I understand that, but at the same time, I've always been a hunter, and
Yeah,
that's just
yeah,
my mentality.
yeah.
It's all just to be a hunter. I mean, that's always the way it's been. I mean, it's I don't know if it's just always something I've always been in, and that's something that's innate within me to be a hunter and to be the one that pursues. And I don't know, it's different.
I can't wait to talk to them next week. I thought I was going to get offline, but now I have some questions because I'm curious. Because on one hand, do they still want that dude who's the hunter, who is the protector, you know, who who can get it done? One of the things that I pride myself in is not panicking under pressure. Like, I'm not a crybaby. If something is going to go down, my job as a man, the role of that man to me is my job is to figure it out. What good is it if you got to go figure it out? Then I,
Nah,
I'm the hunter gatherer. I got to go get that done because I don't want you stressed out. I need you, but Deshaun, I'm
but that goes back to the comment that I said earlier about like men being problem solvers. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
men being problem solvers. Like, I mean, for some women, like, yeah, they still want that, but at the same time, like I said, like, you live in a generation right now that you self-sufficient. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So you're able to just do everything that you need to do by yourself. Like, so when you come in and be like, oh, okay, cool, I want to protect, I want to do all this and that, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, cool, that's fine. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can do that, but you know what I'm saying? It's like it's no really need. So it's just the person or the woman allowing it to happen. Um, in my
Uh,
eyes.
and there was another question, Camille. She got the good questions tonight. Do you guys build together, or does it have to already be made? And
Nah, like you
you know,
bring you
and
bring two
Deshaun,
sides
you're gonna
together.
have a different viewpoint than Adrian. So let's say Deshaun, she don't quite make the money, and you got it, and the same with you, Adrian. Let's say you, but but there's a spark there. Does she have to come ready made, or are you able to say, hey, I got you, and then I'm going to encourage you to build you up, da 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 da? Or does she have to come with her stuff? Because what I'm finding out with the generation, with Deshaun's generation, what they're telling me is, oh no, she got to come correct. And I'm finding the women are just as horrible as the men. No, bro, they be checking credit scores now, man. I'm like,
Absolutely.
dude. I mean, that's the first thing that they're doing now is checking credit scores and how much debt are you in. I can't marry you till you figure out how to do something with that debt. I'd be like, bruh, if that was the case, I'd have never got married. I mean, I don't know. I just don't
I
know.
feel as if like you just bring like you go with the spark. Like, I mean, I'm a any woman that has talked to me can tell you like I'm never been the one to tell you like, oh, you need to bring this. Like, nah, like I got you. Like, just bring the
Right.
spark. As long as that spark there, I'm good because at the end of the day, that spark is what's gonna keep you there. You know what I'm saying? Because you can lose all the money, you can lose all the house. Like you hear so many celebrities talking about like, oh, like I had like this certain woman at this certain time, like who I thought had me. You know what I'm saying? Who I thought, but then once everything went to shambles, like it's going like, bro, for me, it's just bring the spark. Just keep the spark. Everything else, like I don't need that materialistic stuff. Just bring the spark.
I've been broke before and I didn't like it. You know, so I'm gonna just tell you, I've eaten noodles, and I've been very broke before. But the thing I had was I had my own house, and that's the reason I was broke, because I had a house, I couldn't afford anything else. But I'll tell you, it's not necessarily that you have to be ready made. It's just I just don't want someone who takes away. You know, someone who if I'm there and you know we're there building together, and you out here spending money on stuff that doesn't really, you know, is meaningless. Yeah, we got a problem. Right. I got you, but if you out here just tricking off dope, you know, we got a problem.
Right.
But hey, Adrian, just classify what tricking off dope, like what, like the bags, Louis bags.
That's exactly what it is, Deshaun.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? Just random things, like
random stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, random stuff.
We want to make sure we think
random stuff. That's exactly what it is. Look, and manicures and pedicures, that's a part of life. Getting your hair done, that's not what I'm talking about. That's a part of life.
That's essential.
That's essential. That's exactly right. That's not what I'm talking about. Yeah, we're talking about just random stuff that doesn't mean anything at all. That's what I'm talking about. We got a problem.
I love it. Two questions, and then I got to get you guys out of here. And I want you to think about it just ideally. And just come up with things that you really think right now is the ideal wife for you. That's question number one. And we're going to save that answer last. But the first question is, what do you think is a good husband? What do you think when you think that this is what you are going to be in your mind? What is a good husband? What are the characteristics?
I think someone who's a good listener, first and foremost. I think you have to be a good listener. I think I have to be a provider. Someone who, not necessarily just simply financially, but, you know, security. Someone who makes, you know, my future wife or whoever the woman in my life feels secure. You know, I think those are big, but, you know, we go back to the whole listening and communication. Like, I think you got to be a good listener. You have to be a good listener. You got to be a provider. You have to be someone who is willing to, you know, work through whatever issue it is. And, you know, somebody's not, you know, just going to give up and quit over the smallest little thing. I think those are big, but, you know, I think you got to have some sort of spiritual background in your life as well. I mean, you got to have something that's bigger than the both of you. You got to have something, the purpose in your life, something that's bigger than the both of you that you can both agree upon. Because if not, I just feel like there's going to be some sort of, you know, one-sidedness within that relationship. So those are some of the biggest things I can think of.
Deshaun?
I definitely agree with Adrian. Like, when it comes to spiritual, I grew up in a household where religion was very big. You know what I'm saying? We can go party at night all we want to, but you're gonna be at church in the morning, like regardless. Like, you can be, you know what I'm saying, you sleep whatever. We're gonna be in the house of the Lord. So, you know what I'm saying, building upon that foundation, communication, listening, like I said, like just understanding your partner, like being able to, you know what I'm saying, be stable with them, be personality wise with them. Like, that's what I say for me. Being a good husband for myself would just be me communicating, me listening, me and being secure and making sure that like my family is set and make sure that she's good, making sure that she feels wanted, that she feels loved, that she feels involved with it. So yeah, I would just say those things. So I agree with Adrian.
And I'll throw one more thing in there, Steve. One of the things I've always heard, which I had a very, very, very hard time with, is a woman telling me she wanted me to become more vulnerable. And I thought that was the weakest thing in the world for a man to be vulnerable. I didn't understand what she was talking about. I had no idea what she meant by that.
Right.
And I was like, vulnerable? You want me to show my emotions and be like, what do you mean? But it's a trust factor almost. And I didn't understand the term that she meant by that, to become, you know, be vulnerable. So, you know, now it's almost, you got to be somewhat intentional on being vulnerable, but it's hard to do. It's hard to do for me, at least.
It is almost counterintuitive to how we, as the hunter gatherer, we do not find ourselves like in this state of vulnerability, you know.
No, and from a professional aspect, on your job, no matter what your job is,
Right.
you have to show a sign of strength. No matter what, for most men, you got to show a sign of strength. And
Right.
so that is the opposite of what we're used to and what we do every day. Even
Right.
if talking to you, whatever it is, we're just taught not to be vulnerable.
Right.
So
Yeah, I agree upon that, man. Like that's difficult, man. You know what I'm saying? Just to resort back to your question upon like that understanding part, man. That vulnerable, like you gotta understand as a man, especially as a black man in this society right now, like
yeah,
Yes,
you
sir.
have no choice but to be strong. Like you
that's
deal
it.
with so much adversity throughout the day. You know what I'm saying? You're telling us to like come home and just be vulnerable, like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's
it's
that's a
hard.
lot to unpack, to unwind. So to open that up, like you have, like you said, like you have to build that trust up, and like to get to that trust, like I feel as if once you get to that trust, where I can be that vulnerable with you, where I can sit here and tell you my secrets, sit here and tell you like, hey, this is what I'm actually going through, and I know that you can sit here and like just hear me, then you the one. Like there's no question. Like we can
Yeah,
go ahead and get
yeah,
this handled right now. We can go ahead. We can go to the courthouse right now. But
yeah,
you know, it comes to a certain fact of like, just like I was talking to one of my boys today about, you know what I'm saying, mind reading, like them being able to like sit here and like vent, you know what I'm saying, without us sitting here going back like, all right, cool. Like it's straight, like it has to be reciprocated the same way, like understanding that, hearing it, like what's really going on. Like that vulnerable stage is different, man, because you go through so much. Like you know what I'm saying? I use a black man because that's who I am, and I stand firmly on that. Like you go through so much, so it's like when you come home to something, like you want to be able to feel like, all right, cool, like this is my peace, this is my joy,
Yeah.
like I can feel vulnerable. But if I'm not gonna just be, like, I hate because now in the generation now, like you go, like so many women hit you with like, well, just be vulnerable, just be open. Like, well, why aren't you talking? Why aren't you? I'm like, bro, like, Shawty, like, no disrespect, I don't even know you like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Who's to say that? Once I tell you this, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you running off going to tell somebody else. Like, I had that situation happen. Like, I had a situation where I was messing with a young lady, and you know what I'm saying? I'm telling her different stuff, and she's saying, oh, I'm discussing it with such and such. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Sorry, that's a trigger for me because now I can't trust you with, you know what I'm saying, myself. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a challenge with vulnerability, even with myself. When and if you guys ever get married, I hope you do. I hope you find whatever it is. One of the challenges with vulnerability is it being used against you in a later argument. And so
yeah,
when that comes back up, when you've shared yourself and then you bring that back up in a fight and you use now my vulnerability as a weapon, you then have taken me and shut that door. Now I've got to spoon feed you what I want you to know because you mishandled that in an argument. You understand what I'm saying? And I know people do that all the time, but that's just something in a man's mind because we're fighting, especially black men. We're really fighting. When we wake up in the morning, it's a fight. It's a fight all day long, and it's a looking over your shoulder all day long. You know, it really is bigger. And I guess I need to do a segment on the plight of the black man and the pressures that the invisible pressures that maybe we impose on ourselves, that people just don't know. And because if you're like me, I'm one of the few black men in in an all white environment that in of itself has a different kind of pressure that's associated because I can't act hood. You know what I'm saying? Like I
yeah,
really can't act hood like I really want to because I represent this overarching thing where you act just like all of them. And I'm like,
sure.
oh, you know, and so people don't understand that kind of pressure. Anyway, but um, ideal wife. And then have you all found the love of your life at the wrong time of your life?
Man, nah, man. See, I mean, I put it to you like this, man. Like, man, you know what I'm saying? I had a high school sweetheart who I thought was one, who I thought was everything. Um, and then you know what I'm saying? We had differences, and we here. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you can put that in the aspect of like wrong time or whatever. But now that you know what I'm saying, I've grown and matured, like man, love is love. Like when you find that one, like you found that one, like it's nothing more, nothing less. Like God's gonna allow that person to be there for you. You know what I'm saying? He's going to allow you to go through that struggle, to go through that pain, whatever y'all going through together, like to be able to conquer it. Like you may take some time apart, it may be years, you know what I'm saying? Who knows? But at the end of the day, God's gonna be like, hey, this how it's gonna, like, this is the one. I'm gonna keep throwing this person back. Like it's always a sign that God's gonna throw it to you. So nah, I ain't found mine. I ain't found mine yet.
Okay, and you're 25, and you may not. You know, Adrian, has that happened to you? And then the last thing is, you know, I want you all to think really specific about the ideal wife. But go ahead.
It probably has, Steve. It may have. You know, it's wrong time. You know, right person, wrong time, wrong situation.
Yeah.
I can't say that hasn't happened. Probably has. But you know, everything happens for a reason, but I go back and look at it as, you know, if it would have happened, you know, I wasn't any good. I wasn't ready for it, so it would have been messed up anyway.
Right.
So really, it would have been messed up anyway. So it really wasn't the wrong. You know, it wasn't wrong. It was right. You know, everybody has a curing process, so you know, it takes a while. But as far as ideal,
I was gonna say, because you're closer to it.
Yeah.
Than Deshaun. Deshaun is 25.
I think.
What does she?
Some of the characteristics.
Yeah,
I think characteristics are selfless. Someone who's selfless to a certain extent, because I think that's how you got to have a successful marriage. You each have to, you know, not think of yourself as the first person, but think of the other person more. Someone who definitely prays for me daily because I need it. Someone who is, you know, understands that, you know, we're in this thing together. It's almost like, you know, I think Deshaun mentioned earlier about, you know, pillow talk is one thing, but, you know, we're in this together. We're a team, and nobody breaks up this team. It's like the mob. I mean, we're in this together. Someone who's down for whatever happens, no matter what, we're going to be in it together. And you know, someone who is obviously professional and is a go-getter, you know, not necessarily talking about money, but somebody who has that ambition to go and be more successful than they currently are, and to strive for more information, education, you know, whatever that is, whatever they're striving for, they have to want something more than what they have now. I don't want to get complacent in any sort of relationship. So, you know, somebody who's very ambitious, I think that's definitely very high on my list. So,
Deshaun? And you may not have that at 25. And so you know, and I wanted to go with Adrian and Deshaun, I wanted to make sure I just left it open, because when you're thinking about it, use our experiences to make that decision 5 years from now, whatever that is. Just formulate that in your mind as a young person while you're grinding and getting done what you need to do, and just think about what it is that you know, ideally what you're looking for. And again, like you guys said, I mean, I'm definitely, if you're talking about a scale from 1 to 10, and some days I was a 9, some days I might be a 6 to some people.
Exactly.
You know, it's about adjustments. And I love that word, Adrian, selflessness. I mean, you know, it really is about a togetherness and a team effort when it comes to marriage. Now, next week, we're going to talk to the women. We're going to find out what they want to talk about and what they got to say. I know they're going to blast us. And I think the last week, I want to talk to some married couples and find out, we want to know what has been successful. How have you had a successful marriage? So that'll be the final week in February. And so, it's going to be all about love this time. And man, I thank you guys for being vulnerable with me tonight. You know what I'm saying? For opening yourselves up and having a great conversation. To all of our listeners, listen, just continue to grow, continue to develop, continue to mature. Again, tonight, these are just the perspective of young single men. But I mean, these may be an anomaly. You may be running into knuckleheads. But I do want to tell you that from what we've seen tonight, these are two decent brothers. I mean, they're doing what they're doing. They're striving. They're making it happen. And I appreciate you guys. I wanted to say this, Deshaun, much success to you in all of your endeavors while you're coaching, doing the, I think it's the community work that you're doing, man. Much success. Adrian, much success, man. Continue to be the great dude that you have always been all my life. I wish you both just wonderful, man. Wonderful success. You all are definitely decent brothers. Get that spirituality, man. Get that communication, and whatever that vulnerability is, Lord, we all got to keep working on it. We all got to keep on working on that, and get your money and be everything that you can be. If you need anything from me, man, I appreciate you guys. Next week is going to be the women, and that's going to be a whole bunch of fun. I can't wait to hear all the junk they talk about us and find out what we. But if you guys have any parting words that you want to say, you can at this time. I mean, if you got anything you want to say, just a general conversation, just a general statement.
Man, live your best life. Live your best life. Life is a feeling process, and just continue to grow. Don't get complacent with where you are in life right now. Just, be able to have your ears open, have your eyes open to learning. There's always something that you can learn from anybody. So I'll just continue to flow and go.
I'll say if COVID has taught me anything, it's taught me to sit down and really look at what's important in life. I've had a lot of friends and coworkers and relatives that pass away prematurely based upon their age and what you would think. And it just lets you know, man, life is so short, and you should to the point of living your best life, and you got to enjoy it to every day and do the things you didn't think you wanted to do. Go out and do it. Do something new and just enjoy your life. Hug the people that are close to you, and hey, man, just live your best life. To Deshaun's point.
Man, thank you guys again. Y'all, I appreciate you for joining me behind the veil. We be trying to have some different kind of conversations coming from my particular platform. I hope you enjoyed it. Tonight, I got this up too, man, because this is what both of us, all of us have. We got something called victory. We live in it. We love it. This is just a little tune. And I want you to have victory all over your life. I'm Stephen Williams. They call me the Good Bishop. Thank you for hanging out with me. I got victory in everything that I do. Until our next appointed time for Behind the Veil podcast. Thank you for joining us. Until we meet again. Goodbye, y'all.